I used to tell my children stories nearly every night, and it used to be fun.
Yeah.
And I used to have fun being with my children,
Mm.
and because I think I had fun being with them, they could feel that.
Of course, yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
comes back, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think like with children, if you sort of swear at them all the time, it will come back at you. They will swear at you 10 times more
Yeah.
when they're older.
Mm.
But if you're pleasant and I think, like, let's put it this way, a 40-year-old will probably be better at understanding how to bring a child up than a 20-year-old.
Mm. Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
Like if I had a child now, I'd know better now than the first three. I
Mm.
mean, you do learn and learn and learn
Of course,
to
yeah.
improve every
Well, it's
day.
all a learning experience, isn't it? Like, even when you have your first, I remember having my son, I was only 20 years old, I was almost 21, like, I was, he was born in February, and my birthday was in April, if you see what I mean, but he was born when I was 20, you know? And I remember it was all a learning experience, I think me and my wife, we did an amazing job, we did, we didn't really have anyone around us to advise us or to really, we didn't, we were with our, one of us was always with our son, you know. Even when my wife did go back to work after we had, after having our first child, she would get, went back to work and we were both working. One of us was always with our son. If you see what I mean, one of us was always at work and one of us was always with our son. And the same thing when our daughter come along, obviously she was off, during, her maternity leave and stuff like that. But once she went back to work, it was the same thing, she works when I'm not working and vice versa. One of us is always with the kids, so, you know. Obviously they're going to school now, my son's going to school, obviously during the week, and my daughter's still at home with me because she hasn't started school yet. But yeah, when they're both at school, then, it'll be a different dynamic again, because, not only my son will be at school, but my daughter now will be at school, so, yeah.
Soon they're going to be having children themselves.
I don't even want to think about that, mate.
But it's true though, when you think about it, time does go quick.
Well, I know it's possible because obviously, like, but I hope my son, and I hope both my kids, they don't rush
So
into.
you were at 20 when you had your son?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can imagine your son in 10 years' time could be 20 and have another son.
Yeah.
When you think about it, in another 10 years' time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, in 6 years' time, your son will be probably capable of having a child. Do you know what I mean? So it could be in 6 years' time when you think about it. Which is quite scary.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, some girls have babies at a very young age, don't they?
It's true. But I'm going to tell you what, right, mate, I'm going to educate my kids and tell them, listen, don't rush into doing these things, you've got to be smart, you've got to be, you've got to, when you get to a certain age, and I know you might, he might start, my son might have a girlfriend, or my daughter, when she gets to a certain age, she might have a boyfriend, or whatever the case may be, but it's just about educating them, to be sensible and to be smart and to be, be safe and, take precautions and, don't rush into doing certain things, when it comes to having children with someone or getting married to someone, you've got to make sure that's the right person that you want to have children with and get married to be honest, you've got to it takes a few years really to get to really know someone and on that level, I don't think it's something to rush into, I know a lot of people do and it happens every day, but I'm just saying ideally, if you're a younger person and you're watching this, like, you see this, just, it's not something to rush into, just make sure you're with the right person and that's the person that you really want to have kids with or want to marry or whatever the case may be before you make those big decisions, because it's important, you've got to make sure you're, making the right decisions, So,
I mean, some people don't have children.
True, true. A lot of people today are choosing not to have children, more so than in the past.
Oh yeah, I mean, there is a saying it's cruel to have children in this world.
True. Yeah, at the moment, the way the world is, it's not easy. Yeah.
It's getting, like I say, I think every year that goes by, it's getting a bit more tougher.
Yeah.
For some reason, things, especially sort of like things are going up in price right now.
Yeah.
It's pretty you know, when you think about the future, what is the future? Is the prices going to carry on going up?
Yeah.
Like they always do. You know, I don't ever see them going down.
Yeah.
Which is quite strange. You know.
Yeah.
It'd be good if they did, wouldn't it?
True.
Like, you know, like, I don't understand. We're trying to make this world better, but it's getting worse.
Yeah. It's just getting worse. Because the problem is that the people who are
It's not making sense.
the people who are really making the decisions at the top that are really controlling a lot of shit that happens and what goes on, and you know the way the world is kind of run, and shit that happens on a daily basis, you know, stuff that affects.
I don't think it makes sense to people with common sense in a funny way, do they?
Mate, it's madness. You're just trying to think that we are supposed to be so smart, so intellectual, so technologically advanced at this point, and we can't even still peacefully coexist. It's bullshit. You're trying to tell me that we've come this far and we can't communicate to come up with a solution to fix some problems? You know? You're trying to tell me that you're trying to tell me we've come this far, but yet still, you know, we're so kind of like behind in terms of like communication and being able to solve stuff without having conflict or you know, war or things that are going to alter societies and people and civilizations and history forever. You know, it's madness to think that, you know, people can't, you know, come to some kind of agreement in some way, shape or form, you know. Instead of,
the world's,
you know,
what it is, do you know what I mean? That's what I
yeah,
look at it.
Of course, you accept it for what it is. You accept it for what it is,
You
you know.
have to.
You have to, you have no choice. But it's still sad sometimes just to think about it, because you just think, God, like you said, it seems like the world just continuously just getting worse and worse, like, you know.
So I think
Madness.
I say, if you can imagine if everybody was educated about all these kind of things like compassion, respect,
Yeah, love,
all these kind of things,
empathy,
and every child, you know, was breathing, you know, like compassion is very important. Like, so in at school, they was telling me to cut across.
yeah.
It's not compassionate at all. That's not compassion. It's not, compassion is love. Teaching love. That's what it is. You know, and I think like, no, most children that leave school now have got no compassion about nothing. I think it's quite sad.
It is quite sad.
And scary, you know, because a person with no compassion, no heart, or nothing, you know, don't care about nothing apart from themselves, maybe.
I think these people that this world is kind of being controlled and manipulated in that way, mate. Like, people are becoming so self-indulged, so selfish, so, like you said, they don't care about other people. Like, everything revolves. Everyone, you got a lot of people that just believe the whole world revolves around them, you know, and it's, you know, have no kind of, you know, kindness or, like you said, compassion or empathy or any of these things for any other people. Like, you know, they could care less, you know, as long as it's not affecting them or them or their family.
I think we're living in that kind of world where you have got to kind of think about yourself.
Well, you do. But I think there's also that balance between, you've got to have a balance too of it's okay to be able to show compassion to other people. And
but I think like say a lot of people just got to do their thing, go to work, right, and like so we have been kind of separated by work or whatever, you know,
course,
schools, all families have been kind of divided, you know, we're not as bonded as much as we used to be, and I just think we're just not bonded as much as we used to be, you know, and I think it's a bit sad, you know, and we're living in a world where we're disconnected. We're connected in a funny way on the internet.
Connected more than ever, but more disconnected than ever too at the same time.
Yeah, in a funny way, you know. Like I say, I think like everybody's got to go to work, think about themselves, you know, because there's a lot to do, and they haven't got time for other people's troubles. You know, because they've got enough troubles of their own, you know, or whatever. Yeah. You know, and this is the kind of like the nasty world we're living in. Yeah. You know, it's evolved like this, you know. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm hoping that it's going to improve somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be here much longer anyway, you know. Like I said, life goes quick.
It does.
You know, it's like where each one of us are like a candle, and you don't know how long your candle is, you know, because you don't know how long your lifespan is. You know, like some people have got really quick lifespans. They last a few years, you know, and other people last a long time.
Yeah.
You know, it's whether you know, you're lucky or, you know, I mean, I'm hoping to keep myself strong, you know, in my future, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's important, you
Of
know.
course, yeah.
But, you know, I think, like, education is very, very, very important, as I said, you know. I don't think, like, we are being educated in the correct ways. You know, might be being taught about words and English and maths and all this, but we're not being taught about the vital subject.
Yeah, all these things, those things are important too, but like you said, there are other things that should be added to the curriculum.
I think so, you know, like I said, philosophy would be a good one, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
I would have enjoyed that if it was in school, wouldn't you?
Yeah, oh, most definitely.
You know,
Because
about,
I think,
like, learning about happiness and kindness.
and all those things, because I think philosophy is one of those things that it's a broad kind of topic, if you see what I mean. And if you got someone who's a real, you know, who is a philosopher, you know, of philosophy, you know, whatever they call them, you know, the people that, you know, lecturer or whatever, you know, that'd be a very, you know, very interesting, you know. Very,
I
very
mean, I
interesting.
think, like, the basic sort of subjects that I had at my school, for all the children there, is really sort of like not really teaching them how to be intelligent or wise in life, you know, all that. You know, because you can learn as many names as you want, but that's not going to make you intelligent, you know.
Yeah.
So knowing all the birds, knowing all the trees, everything like that. You know, what you got to know is how to respect people, how to look after yourself, how to, you know, so on and so on, yeah. You know, all these important things, really, you know.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I wasn't really taught to wash myself or brush my teeth and things like that, do you know what I mean? You know. And I think, like, a lot of children get stuck in life because their parents are either divorced or their parents might be together, but they're just not educated, like neither of them.
Yeah.
Or one of them might be educated, you know, and the other one is, you know, and whatever. You know, but there's a number of different circumstances out there, I think, you know. For a child, when he goes to school and just learns the basic subjects, you know, and they haven't got the parents at home, that's not being educated, you know what I mean, either. And they go to school and they're just learning maths, English and all this. They're basically robots when they go to school, if you ask me. They're not learning compassion, not learning all these important subjects, you know. I think I should have been a teacher, really, you know. Because I think, like, a proper teacher, you know, I think what I want, really, is to help other people learn in life about, you know, like, I feel like I'm quite experienced in life, really, and I feel like I can help other people a little bit from the experiences that I've gone through a little bit, you know, because it's, you know, like, I've gone through a number of hard years, you know, like I said, I've lost my daughter. It's really, really affected me mentally, you know, because I feel really quite close to her, you know, and I'm not allowed to see her. This, you know, I feel like I've been put in a cave, you know, in a kind of way, locked away from her. It's a bit unnatural, I feel. But anyway, you know, it's the world I'm living in, you know, and I feel like it's just toughened me up a bit, you know, and I just feel like I can help other people in a kind of way. Like I said earlier on, like, if you don't get hurt in life, you're not going to learn nothing. You know, I think it's through your pains and your hurts in a kind of way you learn about philosophy a bit. You know. I think it'd be a great world if we were all educated, that's all, you know, like with philosophy and, it'd be much, much more, you know, you can imagine going to shops and everybody respected you.
Yeah.
You know, because they're educated.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it'd be great.
It's true.
But you know, we're living in a world where people are kind of like giving up, or giving up hope, or they're not educated.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Very true, man.
And I think it's sad, really. It's sad because, like all these little things, like respect, you know, could be taught to people.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
not.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
It could give people, you know, if we had a better education, actually, a better schooling system, right, it could give hope to us.
Yeah.
That's what I feel.
I think so as well. I agree with that, man.
Yeah.
You know, I think it
A
could
proper
be
education.
it could be
system.
improved. It could be improved quite a bit. You know, in certain regards. You know, don't get me wrong. I think education is very, very important. Very, very important. You know.
I don't think it is very important the way they're doing it, or how they did it when I was at school.
Yeah, no. Oh well, definitely not. Not in regards to your personal experience.
No.
I was gonna say I never really enjoyed school either. You know, in primary school I did quite well. You know, primary school. You know, I used to get in a few fights here and there. You know,
Exactly. I mean, it's every school.
You know, I used to fought quite a bit in primary school. You know, even busted open my eye at one point. You know, in primary school, chasing someone and hit a door. You know, and had to end up getting 9 stitches above my eyebrow. You know. So yeah, all sorts of stuff happened in primary school for me. You know, I remember one of my teachers one time. You know, back in primary school, used to because I was growing up in the Caribbean, like they used to be physical punishment. So if you were naughty or whatever, and you were really naughty, you know, the teacher would get the belt out or a bamboo cane and give you 2 or 3 lashes with it, if you see what I mean. You know.
That's wrong.
And then you'd have to sit down and go back to doing your work. You know. And I remember one day, like in primary school, one of my teachers, like he hit me in my back. Like I was going through to my classroom, but there was this side door that we used to go through to our classroom as well, like from the assembly hall. And he hit me, like basically he was telling me I'm not supposed to be going through that door, I'm supposed to be going through the other door. But instead of like just telling me that, he like grabbed me, before he told me that, he like grabbed me and like hit me in my back, like, and then said, oh, you know, I'm supposed to be going through this door. And like I couldn't believe it, like I ended up like lashing out at him, if you see what I mean, like, you know. Because I just couldn't understand why, like, all of a sudden he grabbed me and like really hit me really hard as well, like grabbed me by my shirt and like hit me in my back, like. So you know, I ended up turning around wondering what's going on. He's like, you're not supposed to be going through that door, you're supposed to go through the other door, you know, that door's, you know, you already, you know.
Yeah, but he's not supposed to be doing like what he's doing to
No,
you.
no.
You know what I mean?
So I ended up lashing out and then I ended up hitting him, you know, this was in primary school. And I ended up getting in trouble for that, you know, my mum got called up to school, I think, to speak to the headmistress in regards to that, you know. She got called up to school a few times, both in primary school and secondary school, unfortunately. You know, because I wasn't willing to, you know, I was, you know, always a peaceful person, but I wasn't like the type to back down like that kind of way either, you know, like you're not going to bully me, you know, I was never going to allow anyone to bully me or to think that I'm not going to stand my ground and hold my own, you know, so, you know, but I was never looking for it, but if it, you know, like they say, sometimes you're not looking for trouble, but trouble still comes sometimes, you know. Sometimes you've got to respond in a way, you know, in a certain way, you might not like it or be happy about it, but that's just part of being a man too, if you see what I mean, you know. Sometimes, you know, you have that physical interaction, sometimes it's possible, you know, you might end up, you know. I've had quite a few fights in my life, you know. I probably had a good 15, 20 fights in my life, you know. But I'm proud to say that I haven't had any fights in the last 10 years.
I think it's part of being at school, actually. You've got to learn how to fight.
Yeah.
You know, and I can remember being at school, and I was a good fighter. That's one thing I learned to be, a good fighter.
Yeah.
But I never liked fighting. Alright, I just knew that I had to protect myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? From school, you know, the other children at school, you know, you got the years above you that you had to deal with all the time, do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, I think like it's silly school in a kind of way, where they even separate you from the years in a funny way.
Yeah.
You know, that, I don't know, it's just a bit, I don't like it. It's a system, innit? Like you go up sort of like you have your summer holidays and you go up another year, and you have another summer holiday, do you know what I mean? You go up another year.
Yeah.
And like I say, I didn't, you know, my family, my personal family, as I said, my mum and dad broke up. Then I was going at school, being locked up a bit, you know, whatever. I had a bit of problem at school.
Yeah.
And then I didn't really see my brother much, you know what I mean? I was kind of like, you think like if the school didn't exist, I would have didn't go to school, or if there weren't no schools, I would have been more closely bonded with my mum and brother.
Yes, yeah, of course, yeah. You'd be able to spend more time with them, you would have had a better connection.
But they invented schools and said everyone's got, you know.
Well, basically it was to get the parents back into the workworkforce.
Yeah, you know.
And not only that, but to get the women into the workforce. Because don't forget, up until a certain point, up until maybe like the 1950s, prior to that, most of the time the women were predominantly at home with the children, and the man was the breadwinner and the one that went out to work and basically came home and gave the wife most of the money to pay the bills and everything else, and kept a little bit for himself to go to the pub and for his smokes.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, you know.
But even like pubs, you know, I mean, like my dad, when my mum and dad did divorce, he used to go drinking all the time. Do you know what I mean? I didn't really see him much, you know. Do you know what I mean? And I find that these pubs kind of like the children are getting rejected because of it, you know. I mean, me personally, I never went. I did go a couple of times to pubs and that, but I didn't really like going on like people with my children. Do you know what I mean? More. I just think, why go out when I prefer to be with my children?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's the world we're living in today, do you know what I mean? It's different to what it used to be.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, mate. So, is there any final words or any final statements or anything any words of advice or anything you want to leave for the people before we wrap it up and call it a night for this week's episode, all about childhood and upbringing?
Yeah, just hope you've learned something from what we said, you know, like about. I just personally think it's all down to education.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
You know?
You've got to try to educate your kids as best as possible.
I think that's the only reason why our world is evil when you think about it, because I think like evil people are not educated in kind of way, I feel.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
You know, to do something really badly wrong, I think is not a wise thing to do.
Of course,
or the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or even thinking about
apparently too, there's a very large statistic that shows as well that single parent households, that the male men that come from single parent households are 70 something% more likely to end up in prison, or to end up like lots of different things, if you see what I mean. They were basically saying that a kid growing up in a one parent household has a huge percentage higher of, you know, end up in prison or these various different things, if you see what I mean, you know. So I think it's so important to try to have a balance in the household, you know. And this whole thing of a man can only see as, you know, I know that I don't want to upset anyone, but I'm just trying to say, like, when people do get separated, if people do have kids and they do get separated or divorced or whatever, obviously, generally, as long as the mother's fit and a good mother, the children will go with the mom, and then the father would have, you know, he would be able to see his children, you know, they will have some kind of arrangement or some kind of agreement. But usually the court's agreement is every other weekend. So to me, that's only 4 days out of a month. To me, that doesn't make any sense. If you're supposed to be the father and you've got children with the mother, why are you only allowed to see your child 4 days out of the month, if you see what I mean? You know, why are they only allowed to be with you for 4 days out of the month? You know, why is it? Of course, you can still call them. You can still call them on the telephone, or now, like today's day, well, you could call them every day on the telephone or on the whatever and speak to them, of course, you know. But it's not the same. It's just like, why you only allow for? Why is it some men out there only allowed to see their children 4 days a month? Like, it just makes no sense. Like, how is he allowed? How, you know, you're not allowing him to be a present good father, you know. And to me, that just doesn't make sense. Why they just only make it 4 days a month? Like, to me, it should be equal. It should be like maybe 2 weeks out of the month the kids are, you know, 2 weeks out of the month the kids are with the mum, and 2 weeks out the kids, 2 weeks out of the month, the kids are with the dad or something like that. Like, you know, like.
The last thing I wanted in my life, or I'm not joking, is my children to disappear.
Yeah.
And it's happened.
Yeah.
I really love my children, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And wanted to be the best father possible.
Mm.
And I was. I felt like I was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I never hit my children, do you know what I mean? Or anything like that. I was very, very close to them, do you know what I mean? And I can't imagine that they've disappeared on me now, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's quite shocking in a funny way to me, you know. That I've got children in this world, but I don't see them.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking maybe I might see them when I die, when I'm in heaven, you know. You know, I think they're growing up now. You know, things have changed. You know, they're not children anymore. You know what I mean? So I mean, I'm full of good memories.
Yeah.
Right, with my children. You know, I had a lot of magical times with them. You know what I mean? And that's what really children are all about. You know, having magical times with them. I think.
Of course, yeah.
You know, I think that's really important. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
being present as much as you can possibly be.
Well, it's like I did have a boring moment. You know, it's like when I was waiting at a train station one time. You know, and the train was, you know, it got delayed for some reason.
Yeah.
I wouldn't wait there another hour.
Yeah.
I'd go to the duck pond and have fun.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to sort of make fun of every moment, really. You know, don't you know, stand there getting annoyed with them and waiting for the train for another hour. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you got to enjoy it. You know, and I mean, like, so I feel like I did have many magical times. You know, and I was sad that went away.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of my wife took the rights away from me, but she also took the magic away from both of us, all of us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like this might come back to her one day. Do you know what I mean? When the children realise one day that what she done,
Yeah.
in a kind of way, you know, it might take a bit more time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think everyone's circumstances are different, you know.
Of course, yeah, yeah. It's a wonderful thing, mate. It's a wonderful thing being a parent, and yeah, we just, you know, all the parents out there, just, you know, you're doing a great job. You know, don't, you know.
Well, I wouldn't say that, you know, because they're not. That's not
No,
true.
but there are a lot of great parents out there, mate, trying their best, and sometimes, even though some parents do try their best, doesn't always mean that the child always.
Well, they might be trying their best, but they're not educated. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they can only try what they know.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But there are a lot of great parents out there. You know, I don't want to take that away from anyone. There are a lot of great parents out there, and I think in this day and age too, especially with the men are a lot more present as fathers today than I think that they used to be. You know, once upon a time. And I think that's very, very important. So kudos to a lot of the older men out there as well that are present in their children's life, and you know, whether or not they're still in a relationship with the children's mother or not. You know, you're taking care of your responsibilities, and you know, whether it be financially or being present there with the kids, or taking them out, or you know, giving them experiences and memories, and you know, whatever. You know.
I think you got to treat a child like it's yourself.
Yeah. You got yeah.
You know, you got to look.
Even more than that.
That's how you got to look at everything, really. You got to look. You know, like if you had a 5-year-old running around over here, you got to treat that. Pretend you're talking to yourself in a kind of way, you know. But you're a child. Do you know what I mean? And love that child like it's yourself.
Of course, yeah. Even more than that, like I could say that I love my children when I love myself. Of course, I love myself. You know, don't get me wrong. Of course, you have to love yourself before you can love anyone else. But I love my kids more than anything in this world, mate. I can tell you that.
Think for your children all the time. Do you know what I mean?
Certainty.
Think about how you can teach them. You know, the best way you can.
Of course,
you know?
yeah. And I'm big on that too. Like I'm big, like even with my kids, like I'm as honest and open with them as possible. Of course, you know, with everything. You know, obviously, you talk to a child. You know, obviously you have conversations with your child that you know you might structure the way you say things or certain things in a different way, in a way that they can digest it and fully understand it, depending on their age, of course. But yeah, I'm big on, like, with my kids, like, I try to, teach them everything I know, just to instill that knowledge and education in them, so that when they get older, they're prepared, they've got their head on their shoulders, they're sensible, they've got common sense, they can think logically and, think for themselves and, just be a strong, good human being, That's the goal, innit? You want your kids to have the best life possible, and then for them to go on and, once they leave home and be independent, you want them to go on and have good lives, to be successful in whatever they do and to achieve whatever ambitions or goals they might have, and to have good lives. And obviously, if they end up having kids too later on in their life, they meet someone, whatever, have kids, whatever, etc., then you might end up having grandkids and etc. The lineage continues. The family tree, family lineage continues. So yeah, it's a wonderful, it's a fantastic thing, and it's not an easy job by any means, it's but yeah, it's worth it, it's worth it, it's a blessing to be able to give someone else life.
Well, I don't think it's easy in this world we're living in, it's, let's say, things are getting tougher out there.
It is getting tougher, yeah.
And so if it's getting tougher out there, it's even tougher to be a parent.
True, yeah.
Or even a child in this world.
In many different ways too, because
even a child.
Where there's so much, like, let's use the internet and social media, say for example, a lot of children, if their parents aren't monitoring what they're doing and what they're watching and what they're viewing on a daily basis in terms of their, YouTube, social media, whatever, then, they don't know what their children are being exposed to.
That's right. It's
So,
not just that, it's like I say, it's more dangerous than it was 50 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
There's hundreds of cars, thousands of cars on the road.
Mm.
You can't have your kid running around like we used to. Do you know what I mean? When I was younger.
Yeah.
So the world's changed in that way.
Yeah.
The world is more dangerous.
Mm.
It definitely is.
Yeah, facts. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Anyway, mate. Good night from us here at the Philosophy Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to a brand new episode. We'll be back again next week, of course. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Hope we didn't bore you.
That's it. Hope we didn't bore you to death. Have a blessed night. One love. Yeah.